Welcome to the Eric-Thompson Show. Passionate conservative fighting to preserve our constitutional rights.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
A Marine Corps veteran and family man whose life's creed is faith, family, and country. Join Eric today as he covers current events from a conservative worldview. Now, here's your host, Eric Thompson.
Hi, welcome to another Eric Thompson Show podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. It is Wednesday, March 16th, 2022. Hope you guys are having a good day. If you want to check out some of my work as a political writer, you can head over to trendingpolitics.com, or over to my website, eric-thompsonshow.com, to check out my articles. I am immersed in politics, but I also do a Christian podcast, which helps me keep my sanity. But on the political side, you may know this already, but if you don't, the news cycle is all designed to provide information that makes you upset, nervous, or compassionate. It brings out your compassion for people. The news has to create an action in you, or it won't get published. That's why a lot of the good news, you go, why is all the news bad? Because people don't click on a lot of good news links because it's like, good. That's how it should be. What I'm really noticing in the last year is that the people from Barack Obama and up, the Great Reset people, the United Nations 2030, this globalist movement, they are playing the American culture like a violin. Saul Alinsky, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, he wrote a book called Rules for Radicals, and Barack Obama used it when he did his city organizing in Chicago. Hillary Clinton met with Saul. He tried to recruit her. She came from a conservative home, and by the time Saul Alinsky and other liberals were done with her in college, she ended up writing her thesis paper about him, saying he was misunderstood. He was really more like Martin Luther King Jr. No, he was an anarchist. He believed in going in and tearing down successful, functioning cultures and then rebuilding them so everybody has the same. So what's happening in the United States right now, and this is going to be my theme moving forward. It makes absolutely zero sense that the United States of America, an individual sovereign nation, well, we used to be sovereign. Our border has been wide open now. So a formerly united sovereign nation, it keeps getting pulled into these international affairs like Ukraine, where we the people, because it's emotional. That's why the news will show pictures of blown up people, and Zelensky was speaking today at the virtually to our Congress in DC, and he got a standing ovation, and everyone's worried about what's happening over there. But then if there's a crisis over in Africa, we'll worry about that. And if there's a crisis over here, in the meantime, the Biden family, who has ties to China, Ukraine, who Biden following up with Obama and helping Iran, and all this turmoil is taking place. It keeps everyone in the United States, the average person, going, what's the news say? Okay, we're staring at Ukraine for a while. Now, Ukraine was a corrupt nation. It's been a corrupt nation. The Russian oligarchs, and you remember what Biden said before he ran for president, way back when. He said, look, when I was the VP, Barack put me over Ukraine and China in those relationships, and the prosecutor was bothering Hunter. So I told him, if you don't fire If you guys don't fire the prosecutor, you're not going to get the money from Barack. You're not going to get the billions. He said, you can't do that. He said, try me. Ha, ha, ha. Well, they fired the prosecutor. I believe, as someone who served in Desert Storm, Marine Corps vet, I was fortunate. I was in Bahrain. I didn't kill anybody, so I don't want to overstate what I did. But as someone who flew into these countries, the fact is, the United States of America, at this point, is not in a position to be the policeman of the world. And we'll talk about it in the podcast, but there's this strange dichotomy that's taking place in our culture. Because what the left has been able to do, and what the globalists have been able to do, is they've been able to take the Christian core element of the country, which a majority of it is now getting older, because the younger generations are turning away from God. They're doing it their own way. The government has been able to, and the media has been able to say, hey, the Christian thing to do is to help Ukraine. But then they'll turn around and say, don't you dare push your Christian values on our transgender bill. The Christian thing to do is to give arms and to help people around the world and to open our borders for people to pour in. But don't you dare try to stop women from aborting their children. And as I sit here on the 16th of March, and we've got now the Fed working on a digital dollar currency. We got the ESG scores that are going to be rolling out. There's a time in history where you have to look and say, you know what? We have to quit worrying as a nation about what's happening around the world, because we are not at $30 trillion in debt as a country that is pretty much post-Christian. There's some of us left, but we can't allow the government to keep mixing teachings that Jesus gave Christians on how to deal with each other and then help people, to allow that idea to be then transferred over to, oh, we are a Christian nation, so we should then treat the world like that. It doesn't work. It's not even logical at this point. So what people say is, well, no, the United States has a moral obligation. Where does that come from? These platitudes have to go. We have 30 to 40 million people in our country right now from over 150 different nations living in our nation illegally. We know there's human trafficking taking place. We know there's murders. We know there's gang activity. We know there's fentanyl drugs, overdoses. And we just keep going on day to day. What's happening in Ukraine? Well, what about the 20,000 people that came across? There's articles out now, there's stories that the Ukrainians and the Russians they're pouring across our southern border. They saw, well, I don't want to be involved in this conflict. I'm going to fly over to Mexico, and I'm just going to go into the United States across the border. I don't have to go through the visa process. I don't have to do this refugee thing, this war. I'm just going to go and walk across like everybody else. If we continue this path, we will not exist as we are. It's that simple. And when we go over some of the articles that I've written, it's going to make sense to you. I have two sponsors for my podcast. Please check them out. They're no-brainers. The first one is My Pillow. If you need towels right now, if your towels are looking shoddy, they're old, and they don't match, go to mypillow.com. Mike Lindell's company, 2,500 great workers up in Minnesota. MyPillow.com, but do /FLS for liberty's sake. 3 letters, FLS, and you'll get up to 90% off on his closeout sales. But on the towels, they're normally $109 or $39 right now. Choose your colors. And I love the pillows. I got the pillows. I have his sheets, the Giza sheets. The cotton is from the Giza region in Egypt. They don't fade. They get softer with each use. I got a mattress topper, which turned my mattress into a sea of tranquility again. Robes and everything else. So check them out. MyPillow.com /FLS. Use that at checkout. You'll get huge savings. You'll support our podcast. You'll support Mike Lindell. And you'll support our country. And those towels, you're going to love them. They're soft, and they dry, and they look good. Appreciate it. All right. Here's what's going on. All over the news. The news is designed to keep you emotional. So, all over the news. Darkest hour. Zelensky, president of Ukraine, did a video conference with Congress, and they gave him a standing ovation, and he begged the Congress to do more. He wants to fly over restrictions. He wants us fully engaged in this with them. I mean, Biden announced, well, then we'll send you another $800 million. $800 million. Zelensky, to get people emotional, he said that this is their 9/11. This is their Pearl Harbor. He quotes Martin Luther King Jr. He calls on the Congress to do more. Then he addressed Biden. I'm addressing President Biden. You, the leader of the nation, I wish you would be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means being the leader of peace. This is not reality, folks. It's one thing. It would be one thing if our nation was squared away, right? We're still predominantly Christian, so we're all one mind. Our country's not in debt. Our border's secure. People are learning basic civics. That would be one thing to say, well, okay, at this point, our house is in order. Let's see if we can help bring about peace. Our house is not in order in the United States of America. I was listening to Glenn Beck this morning, and he's going to do a special on Black Lives Matter. Remember those guys? Come to find out, they were part of this great reset of deconstructing culture, causing division ethnically. And now they basically, all the money has been sucked out, and there's no one running the ship over at Black Lives Matter because it served its purpose. It's no longer politically convenient, but it wasn't really, it was intended to cause disruption, to cause racial division, to raise capital, to unite people, and now it has no value. So now the founders have bought their real estate, and it's just like a floating, worthless ship in the ocean. Never was about helping Black Americans. So here's some of the articles that I've been writing. Following backlash, Psaki, White House press secretary, says there's no Venezuelan oil at this time. See, the Great Reset Group, working with the Green New Deal, the new squad, the AOC squad, are saying we want to go with zero emissions by 2050. We want to start to force people into electric cars. We want to crush the oil and gas industries. So what's going on in America? Exactly that. Day one, Biden gets in. We're going to cancel the Keystone Pipeline. The XL Keystone Pipeline, gone. Tens of thousands of good-paying jobs, no oil coming in from Canada. We're going to cancel the leases, the ability to get leases in Anwar and Alaska and around the country. We're going to stop people from drilling. And we're going to cause a shortage. And then we're going to go back to OPEC, the Biden administration, and say, well, we're a little short over here on oil now because we're not going to drill because it's yucky. It kills the planet. But you guys can. Why don't you get it out of the ground? You don't do it as cleanly. You kind of pollute the air when you get access when you get it out of the ground more than we would. But we're over here in the United States, and Biden would say we're forcing our country to go away from oil and gas. So we're done over on our side of the fence. So, but we still need the oil. So OPEC, can you help us? And what does OPEC say? Because when President Trump was in, we became energy independent and we drove the price of oil so low that the Arab nations suffered significantly because of our high production. So guess what they're doing to the United States now? Oh, you guys aren't energy independent anymore? Nope, we're not gonna get more oil for you. We're not going to increase our production. So gas, $5 a gallon, $5.56. Oh, hold on. There's a disruption with Russia and Ukraine in oil. So OPEC, one more time. Can you help us? Nope. So Biden goes and he sends a group down to Venezuela, who we don't recognize their current president down there. But we did it anyway. We said, why don't you guys go down there and let's just go down and say that we don't believe Maduro is Nicolas Maduro is the president. We believe he shouldn't be in power, that he should have been replaced by the guy I forgot his name, who was elected in the election. But so we're not formally recognizing him, but we need the oil, but we can't say that because the National Assembly constitutionally removed him in 2019. So let's go down and let's just do a diplomatic meeting with people in Venezuela. We'll do that, denying that it was about trying to negotiate to get more oil. So Venezuela's a no, and that's what Psaki said at the press conference. Nope, no Venezuelan oil at this time. Iran said no. So the nations that hate us, the Arabs that are mad at us, said, "Oh, you guys went ahead and stopped your own production? Wow, then we're going to punish you. No oil." Biden's lucky because China is having draconian COVID lockdowns again, so the oil consumption in China is dropping significantly, which is going to then allow more supply to be in the markets, which is going to allow gasoline to go back down again. But the main story I wrote about is that Venezuela oil is not coming, even as the Biden administration tried to do it sneakily. They tried to go and get access to it because they're not going to allow any drilling here. And in the height of hypocrisy, they will say, well, we can't, to save the planet, we can't drill for oil and natural gas here, but they can in other parts of the world. I don't believe in global warming. I don't believe in climate change. I don't believe that humanity has the ability to change God's planet to that degree. But how could China, which is opening coal plants every 6 days, over 1,000 burning coal, how can China be increasing their output of emission of coal burning, CO2, all this stuff in the air, whatever, while we're trying to cut ours? They are increasing. India is increasing. So it's lunacy. See, what we should be focusing on in the United States is what we're doing. We cannot control what China's doing because we've given China all the power by giving up our manufacturing. I wrote an article too. I'm here in California. The Republicans are like, well, we have a temporary solution to help Americans. So Republicans are like in the U.S. Senate and U.S. House, why don't we work with states like California to have them? We'll stop the national gas tax, and we'll ask Newsom in California to stop his 51 cents a gallon highest state gas tax, and that'll give people a huge relief while oil is coming back down. Do you think Newsom's all for that? Of course not. Okay, why you can read this on Trending Politics and eric-thompson-show.com. Why do you think Gavin Newsom is not going to support temporarily cutting the massive gas tax in California? Because the average Californian, we're paying $5.75 a gallon. Across the country, the average is $4.31 a gallon. So they could definitely help us out here. The reason why is Newsom loves revenue. He loves taxes. And what does he do with the money? He brings in more illegal aliens and supports them. There was a letter obtained by Fox Business from a group of Republican lawmakers led by Republican David Valadao out here in California. He asked Newsom to pause the gas tax. Quote, even as prices skyrocket, California continues to tax gasoline at 51.1 cents per gallon. And while market forces are responsible for today's extreme prices, California's high taxes represent an added burden, and working Californians simply cannot afford gas approaching $6 a gallon. With the cost of goods rising across the board and the price of a gallon of gas at record highs, now is the time to pursue all avenues of relief. It continues. We call on you to immediately suspend California's excise tax on gasoline for 6 months. Sounds like a good idea, right? Should be politically advantageous for Newsom. Would make everybody happy. But what do you think? What do you think Newsom said? Newsom's communications director, Aaron Mellon, argued back. The Republicans' proposal can be manipulated to help line the pockets of petro-dictators and oil companies who are benefiting from the spike in oil prices across the world. And she points to Newsom's tax rebate to provide billions in direct reliefs to Californians who are suffering instead. So Newsom needs the tax revenue. So he's not going to help Californians through this. You heard that DHS is targeting now. They updated their memo that they're now targeting anyone who believes that the 2020 election was stolen, or anyone that challenged the COVID rules during the lockdown. We're now on the Homeland Security terrorism list. Don't you love that? Let's get down here. I'll share this with you. And then on March 2021, unclassified threats assessment prepared by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, the Department of Justice, and DHS, noted that domestic violent extremists, quote, who are motivated by a range of ideologies and galvanized by recent political and societal events in the United States, pose an elevated threat to the homeland in 2021. The assessment pointed to a newer socio-political development, such as the narratives of fraud in the recent general election, the emboldening impact of the violent breach of the U.S. Capitol, and people disputing the conditions and the policies of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you disagreed with the 2020 election results, and if you disagreed with Fauci and the way things have been handled, you are now being monitored or are more prone to being targeted by the intelligence departments and CIA or the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, for simply speaking out. A couple more things here. A New York judge had to save a Christopher Columbus statue because, of course, they had to try to get rid of him in New York. Judge said, nope, don't have that authority. And Rand Paul introduced an amendment to fire Fauci, which ended up failing, by the way. I wrote about it, though. Rand Paul introduced his amendment to fire Fauci. But what happened is the rhinos, including Mitt Romney, voted against it. And what it would have done is it would have broken up, it would have stripped Fauci from his position as a director of National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Disease. He said, quote, "We've learned a lot over the past 2 years, but one lesson in particular is that no one person should be deemed dictator-in-chief. No one person should have the unilateral authority to make decisions for millions of Americans." Fauci, the Republican from Kentucky, he introduced an amendment that would eliminate Fauci's position as the director of NIAID and decentralize it. And he was going to break it into 3 separate national research institutes, each with their own director. But Murkowski, Romney, and the other rhinos in the Senate said, nah, we're going to keep the power with one man. So those are just some of the articles that I've been writing about. But let's close with this. Our country is being gutted from the inside and invaded from the outside. Our education system is graduating Marxist every semester. Our media is keeping people distracted. Social media is keeping people distracted. And because of the fallout of COVID, churches closed, the kids are suicidal, and a significant number of people have now become subservient to the state, to the point that even as LA schools opened back up and children did not have to wear masks, 70% or more of the children still came to school wearing masks. So the younger generations are compliant. The 30-plus million illegal aliens running around the country, out here in California, they were all wearing masks because they didn't want any attention drawn to themselves. But now I'm seeing more and more huge pockets of people that came in the country legally from India, from China, from the Philippines, from Russia, from Ukraine, from El Salvador, from Guatemala, from Somalia. So we have 150 different countries, pockets of people running around, and things are eroding in the inside. And where I am at this point is whoever we put in office in 22 must work to impeach Biden, Harris, and to end immigration. We have to stop the invasion. The way you do that is you say the United States has no immigration anymore. Yes, the House of Representatives is the one that's over that. Yes, there would be lawsuits. It doesn't matter. They said there's no immigration, which means there's no amnesty, which means there's no asylum request. None. If you get to the border, you leave. You do not have an excuse to be in the country. So that would stop all the inflow coming in. Then we finish the wall, even double wall it, and then we start saying no payments can go to anybody that's in the country illegally. No Social Security payments, because believe it or not, some of them somehow got it, or no stimulus checks, no tax returns, nothing. No welfare payments. If you're in the country illegally, the payments stop. Guess what happens? People self-deport like people getting off the Titanic going down. If there's no asylum, if there's no amnesty possibilities, then you can't get in the country and you have no reason to come to the country. Then we say, you know what? We're done with visas for a while. The students don't need to come in from China to go to Stanford. They can learn online now. And we say, let's stop. Let's find out who the 30, 40 million people are in the country, and let's start deporting them. So if you stop the inflow of people coming in and you send people out, you can try to take an assessment of who you are as a nation. The left hates everything I'm telling you right now. Because they want the United States of America to be diminished, to be deconstructed in a negative way, because I'm for deconstructing the federal government back down to very small. They want to deconstruct capitalism and then to rebuild our nation on a federal digital currency, which would get rid of the dollar. They would want and that currency based off of an ESG score where you could only use your money at locations, or if your score tells the business that you are not a risk to them. So if you're posting online that you believe Trump should be president and you disagree with the 2020 elections and you are against critical race theory, you would have a low ESG score. And they could say, we will not do business with you because of your score. That's why we have to get off to everything that's global. Get back to the United States of America. Fix our house. Get our house in order. First. We'd have no interest in what the world's doing right now. We can't have. We don't have a moral obligation to save the world. Where does that come from? It doesn't exist except in the globalist mind and arrogant people's minds. We have some allies. Okay, well, we gave Israel the Iron Shield. So we can partner with some allies, but we can't be intervening. We're broke. We don't have a moral position, and we're corrupt. So it's time for us to exit the globalism, to flush out the illegal people in the country, figure out what artificial intelligence is really going to do to our nation, and then build. Right now, we've hit, this is not hyperbole. We've hit ice. Our boat is going down, and the left wants it that way because they want to resurrect a new boat based off of equity, subservient or compliant to the instructions of the New World Order of globalism. And that's where we're headed. Just take a look at what's going on. As social media is worried about Ukraine, as Congress is worried about Ukraine, as we're spending $800 million on Ukraine, we have babies being aborted. We have people getting fired for objecting to calling people the wrong pronouns. We have our debt through the roof. Our people are pouring across our border. We have human trafficking. It's time to get our house in order first. So that's my plan. Deconstruct the federal government. Get rid of the Department of Education. Get rid of the EPA. Send everything back to the states. Stop immigration. Deport. Get everything flushed out. Then we can figure out who we can help. Because right now, it's like having a burning house and helping someone whose house is burning down also. It doesn't make sense. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Eric Thompson. Website, eric-thompsonshow.com. Also, check out my small social media platforms. I own maga-podcasts.com and twellet.com for free speech. Keep up the good fight, but local. It's time to go back to national first, fix our house, and then we'll look around and see who we can help. God bless you guys. Take care. Thank you again for listening. My second sponsor, almost forgot him. I don't want to do that to him. My second sponsor. Hey, make sure you do this. It's my no-brainer number 2. Go to Pure Talk, getpuretalk.com. Getpuretalk.com. What is this all about, Eric? It's very simple. A year and a half ago, my wife and I were tired of having huge cell phone bills that went up and down all over the map. So I'm someone who was with Sprint, AT&T, ended up at T-Mobile thinking I was going to save money, and I didn't. Because what happened is I would go over on my data, and they would charge me these huge fees. So I got sick of it. So I went to Pure Talk, getpuretalk.com. Here's how it worked. After getting set up with the same program, same packages, they mailed me my SIM cards. I stuck them in my existing phones with my existing phone numbers. Turned the phones back on, and guess what? I had the same number of bars. I was on the same towers. Same Wi-Fi, everything was the same, except when I got my bill, it went down over 50%. If you could save about $800 to $1,000 a year per family by doing nothing different, same phone number, same number of bars, same coverage, why wouldn't you do it? In addition, Pure Talk doesn't charge you if you go over on your data. So my bill last month was $62.23. Unless I change my plans or go over on my usage, right? Unless I go totally different, the only thing that would change is that I would pay, maybe if I wanted to go more gigabytes for a trip, I'll pay a little bit more that month. And when the trip's over, I go back down, but I don't pay for the overages. $62.23 for 3 phones. Check them out, getpuretalk.com. CEO is a U.S. veteran, customer services in Atlanta, Georgia area. Use the same promo code you're using at MyPillow, FLS, 3 letters, FLS, to get 50% off your first month. GetPureTalk.com, promo code FLS. Thank you again for listening today. And I didn't want to forget my sponsor, so sorry about this. MyPillow.com/FLS. GetPureTalk.com, promo code FLS. 50% off your first month with Pure Talk and up to 90% off at MyPillow.com by using that promo code. Thanks again, guys. Take care.